Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me in this workshop. For me, it's actually tonight. I welcome you. I hope that this workshop is of value to you. I know that many of you come from different parts of the world. We are going to have a section later on to get to know each other. For now, I give you a very warm welcome to this workshop that I titled Lean UX Canvas, a tool for continuous value delivery. And this is part of the Miro user group community, strategy and project management. So let's move on and present you a little bit about me. So I am a startup founder and I am residing in Zurich, Switzerland. I am a UX designer and project manager, and I provide services in user research, UX design, no-code, low-code development, and project management. So if you're interested in the services that I provide, feel free to visit my website or connect to LinkedIn. It would be really nice to remain in contact after this workshop. All right, so before we move on, I would really like to kind of focus a little bit on the goal that it is meant for this workshop, which is essentially to discuss the elements of the Lean UX Canvas and the application to our work. It is mainly for UX projects, but if you let your imagination and your creativity flow, it can also be applied to other projects. And essentially, it's about aligning the business goals and the user's goals with learnings that the team can be gathering throughout the project development. So feel free to share your thoughts and your suggestions throughout the activities we will have. And ultimately, you decide how and if you would like to implement this tool. This is only a guideline and some insights about its application and its structure. So the structure of the event is essentially, first, I will provide you some brief input about the content. Then we're going to have some activity, and then we will have some group reflection. So we will do this iteratively throughout the event. And yes, and participation is fully welcome. So feel free to share your thoughts and yeah, communicate with one another. Good. So the agenda is, I tried to summarize it because it's pretty heavy. I tried to detail the different elements of the canvas, but for now, just keep in mind that we're going to have an overview of the elements, how it works, and then we're going to use a case study so that you can see how it is applied in real life. And in the end, we're going to have, of course, a closure and a retrospective. So some housekeeping rules. First of all, the event is being recorded and it may be uploaded later on on YouTube. Some Zoom etiquette is essentially that please keep your Microsoft turned off. Right now, all of you have Microsoft's microphones off, but whenever you participate in an activity, after you have concluded with your thoughts, please turn your Microsoft off so that we don't have any background noise and we can move on. Good. So always use respectful and inclusive language. And it would be really nice if you could have two screens. We're going to have a Miro board. I'm going to share the link with you in the chat section. So feel free now to access the board, have a look at the different sections, the different canvases that I posted there. So for now, just have a look. I will detail later on what we need to do. So some general information about Miro in case you're new to this platform. You can duplicate content by selecting it and pressing Ctrl D as in many other applications. You can also, just 1 second, because I'm seeing the cursors of all the participants now. It's not really useful now, but anyway. So yeah, Ctrl D to duplicate information. To change between the pointer and the pan, you just need to press V or H, or you just go on the right-hand side. As you can see here, you can then select this arrow here, and this is a select, and the pan by pressing V or H. To undo, you just press Ctrl Z, and the alternative also for Mac devices. And also for reactions, it would be really nice if throughout the event you can share your thoughts, if you're liking something, if you love something, if you're surprised, or any other thing that you find interesting. So these are some features of Miro. They're really practical and very, very cool. So with that in mind, I would really like to move on now to the interaction, to the networking section of the workshop. So the idea now is to take one of the pins that are posted here in this section and duplicate it and place it in the region of the map where you are located. And then with pressing the key C, you can press a comment and put it right next to the pin that you choose. So if this is clear for you, then we can spend 1 or 2 minutes on this. So let's start. All right, so time's off. Time's up. So let's see where we are located. So we're mostly in Europe. There is one participant in Asia from India. Okay, he just wrote me on the chat, so I know he cannot participate right now. But let's have a look at the participants in Europe. So the idea now is to have 2 or 3 participants to introduce yourself. This is because of time limitation. We have several activities, but it would be really nice if any of you could unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Then I will just start. My name is Victoria Kogan. I am a business and service designer in Munich, Germany. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Victoria. Welcome. So, if anybody else, yes?
Yeah, I'll go next. Oh, sorry, did I talk over you, Anna?
No, go, Tara, go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I'm Tara McAllister. I'm based in Belfast, and I'm a UX designer 1. That's what my job is.
Perfect. Welcome, Tara. So I'm sure this workshop will be of use to you as a UX designer. Welcome. Okay. Anna, I think you wanted to also talk?
Yep, so my name is Anna. I work in circular economy and design, and I'm based in London.
All right. Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you all of you for participating and for contributing and introducing yourself in this section. Actually, I got a notification that more than 60 people registered for the event, but it's always the case. Always there is less people who come. So right now we have 10 participants. So, and there is a new one. So feel free to add your LinkedIn link here if you would like other people to connect with you and to exchange thoughts after the event if you would like. So with that covered, then we can move on to the next part, which is the matter of the workshop. So Lean UX Canvas. So here the idea is to present you the overview and the key concepts of this. Before we go into this detail, I would like us to dedicate some time into reflecting a little bit on how our teams solve business problems. I would like you to once again take the initiative and grab one of these sticky notes that are located here at the bottom and insert them in this region. And right there, how you believe your team is addressing, what strategy your team is using to solve business problems. So let's dedicate some 2 minutes on this and then we'll recap. All right. So we have some good content here. So now the idea is that any of you just explain a little bit what you wrote in the cards, so that the rest of the group can understand what you how your team is addressing problems. Any volunteer? There are here 3 cards from someone, maybe this person.
Okay, I'll speak on those because I wrote them. And so what we tend to do in my company is we'll collaborate across multifunctional teams. So since I'm in product, it'll be with like dev, PM, marketing, and then UX research, UX writers, UX design, and we'll all try and get together and explore the problem. And usually try to brainstorm it. Sometimes whenever we are brainstorming, we will realize that we need to take a step back and go like research first. If we don't know enough about the user to really speak on their need, we'll have to do research first. Sometimes we have enough previous research or enough customer feedback that we can jump straight into, some kind of like brainstorming workshop and all work together to try and find a solution.
It sounds really good. Sounds like it's very collaborative, and it's evidence-based, which is really important, right, for UX projects, and I would say for any business nowadays. Okay, perfect. So thanks a lot, Tara. Is there anybody else who would like to share some thoughts on this? So we have here some more cards.
Okay, I guess that it's important to understand the market as well as the users, as well as the business needs, and if you can actually fit into this sweet spot of your solution, then it's pretty customer centered and also valuable for customers.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And also, very importantly, make the switch between we should and we do, right? So that it's practice-based and that it's actually addressing the problems of the team. Good. So thank you very much, Victoria, for that, and for everybody else who participated on this. So let's have a look at Lean UX Canvas. So this is a tool that it is meant for facilitation in teams, and it is customer-centric. So this is a technique or a tool that is used for teams to align their thoughts around the current problems they are addressing in regards to a product, ideate or identify possible solutions, but put it in a strategic way, thinking into what is happening now and what needs to happen in the future and what to do in between. So in this tool, you can incorporate insights from trends, from patterns and assumptions, as some of you already mentioned, information that you gather from your research, ideally internally from your organization, so that you can also easily and quickly reach out to the people and ask for feedback or even more information. And it's also it's useful for the early stages of agile adoption. It enables continuous learning at every sprint, since it's a kind of retrospective. So it enables to incorporate new thoughts and new insights that have been gathered from the previous sprints. And it clearly helps to teams to identify where there is a problem, where there is a gap, and for whom they are designing or for whom they are creating a product, and why they think a solution is actually suitable for the problem that they are addressing. Now, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are, for this tool to work, you need several elements to make this happen, to make this practical and functional within a team. And these elements here can be summarized within these 3 aspects. One is refocus. So teams need to shift their mindset We're going to have a look into what that means. Another element is that you need cross-functional teams, as some of you were mentioning. You need teams that are from different departments so that they can bring their insights, their concerns, as well as their solutions into how a product can benefit or may not benefit in respect to the stakeholders that they're addressing. And it's also essential to have a business problem statement so that people are aligned and they're focused into one particular thing that will actually make their actions effective. So if we look into each one of these elements, I will quickly go through them. So in terms of refocus, in lean UX, you need to shift from quantity to quality. So the idea is not to produce as many items as possible, or to launch a product as quickly as possible into the market, but rather to focus on the quality. Is this product addressing the needs of the target users of our product or in our organization? And what is the quality of all the efforts the team is doing? For example, in terms of documentation, in terms of meetings that the team is arranging. So overall quality, that's the idea. It also should be evidence-based, as we were discussing before. So it's important to do research before taking decisions or even before doing ideation sessions, so that whatever the solutions that come from a team are based on actual on facts and things that are actually focused on the target users of the product. It is important to embrace the idea of continuous learning. So teams need to be encouraged to embrace learning, to identify what went well, what went wrong, and how to improve things in the next sprints. So that's the essence of continuous learning. Yeah. But this needs to be become a habit in organizations and in teams. And the team also needs to focus on outcomes and not on outputs. So the idea is not to produce a product and this is it, but rather on an outcome. So the outcome is, for example, a product that helps the user solve a specific need, for example, or a product that aligns with the key values of an organization or the key performance indicators of a team. So we need to shift our mindset to elements that are more efficient and more productive overall, and that help reduce waste, reduce handoffs, redos, etc. So, and also another element is iteration. So we need to focus also on we need to understand that we're not going to have the product done in one go, and that we will need to have a minimum viable product, and which we will improve in the development of the product. So this is refocus. In terms of cross-functional teams, there is a need to have shared understanding of what is happening. And this is also part of why it's important to have a business problem statement before you start dealing with a project, and even before you actually use a tool like this one. You need to also have an understanding on efficiency, and this is linked to what we were mentioning before, refocus. And also, it is essential to have the customer in the center. Always have a good understanding of what are the needs, the motivations, and the behaviors of the customers. And there is also a need to have willingness to learn. This is we mentioned this previously in the refocus area. And also, it's important to be agile, to be flexible to changes, and focus also into continuous improvement. And lastly, you need the business problem statement. So this statement needs to be clear, and it helps the team to focus on a unique challenge, so that people are not doing one thing and another person is doing another thing, but rather on a clear and unique thing that needs to be solved within the team. So I see that someone is asking how to access. So here I'm sharing the link again, so feel free to join. And then it's important to have this problem statement, to have the boundaries of the scope of work, so that it's possible to have objectives that can be checked, or key performance indicators that at the end of the sprint or at the end of the project you can identify. It should be specific and it should be measurable, and it should also not be prescriptive for solutions, but rather provide alternatives, and it should be broad enough so that the team can iterate and ideate on that. And it should also help identify assumptions that will be verified later on. So this is an introduction, and with that in mind, we can move on to the next part. If you would like to have the canvas that we will discuss now, you can go to this website, which is the website of the creator of this tool. So the LeanUX canvas is structured as you can see here. There are 8 different parts, and it switches between the now, what is the current situation, into the later. And in between, there is a gap. So it's essentially a strategy tool. It's a tool that helps teams, as I mentioned before, to focus, to align what they have right now, understanding who their customers, their target users are, and then defining a strategy into how to close that gap. So at the bottom of this tool, we have how we will find out, or how we are going to get there where we want to go. So at the bottom is like the focus, the fundament, what enables or makes this effort sustainable. So the idea now is that we use a case study to learn about the different sections of this LeanUX canvas. I'm going to give you 1 or 2 minutes so that you read this case study and you get familiar with the concept, because we're going to need it for the next activities. So please read this, and we're going to move on in the next 2 minutes. All right, perfect. Thank you very much. Good. So here we have a summary of key elements of this case study. The first thing is context. So increasing edtech startups. Risk is the disruption by nimble competitors. The market is new students who are using mobile first or mobile only mindset. And the concern is the product is heavy and not mobile friendly. And the assumption is that if they improve their mobile offerings, they will have some success in the market. And the target is 15% increase in mobile usage of flagship LMS within their customer segment. So this is a learning management system business that is addressing students, and their challenge is a heavy product and not a mobile-friendly product. So with that in mind, we're going to use this LeanUX canvas to address this problem. Let's start with the business problem. So here is essentially is what your business is trying to solve. It frames the work that the team has to do, and also what kind of questions, what kind of discovery or research is needed. So some questions that can be addressed in the business problem are, what is the customer behavior around your product? What are the metric shifts that you may need to do? That, for example, if you have a KPR in the product, but the product is not meeting users' needs, you may need to change it to be able to capture this behavior in users. What is the current state of the system or the product, or what is the market? What are the shifts in the market? Why did we design it actually in the first place? So revisit what were the assumptions made initially and what needs to be changed, and what is the why is the product not meeting the expectations at the moment? So with these questions in mind, I would really like if you could just write some keywords, because you're going to need this to work on the activity later on. But in any case, that's the idea, to kind of creatively and collaboratively identify with the team what are the problems around the product and around the business, and considering the customer's needs and change in behavior. So then we go to the section 2, which is the business outcomes. So here is how you will know you have solved the business problems. What do you want to achieve? Where you are heading? So essentially here you have measures of success. So when you identified before what were your KPIs of your previous product, you need to here identify if these old KPIs are useful, or if you need to identify new ones. So here you need to set that up. And then what are the key results that you're expecting? So for example, if you're focusing on retention, if you're focusing on the user acquisition, on revenues or referrals, so what is exactly what you want to measure to be able to say at the end of the project or at the end of the sprint if this effort was useful? Then if we move on to the third section, we have the users. So these are your customers. So who is the persona? What are the personas that you're addressing this problem to, this product to? So here you make a list of all the different persona types. So these are all the people who might be using your product in your system. For example, your customers or prospective customers, as well as internal users that may be using your product, could be internal or external users in this respect. But most importantly is that you have a good understanding of a persona. What are their needs? What are their goals? What are their frustrations? And how your product could help close that gap. So in this case, you pick one of them and you give it a name, you sketch it, you identify behavioral information, demographics, psychographic characteristics, etc. So all of you who are UX designers are familiar with this. So here's where your personas and also the user journey comes into play to start identifying how your product can be improved. So with that in mind, I would like us to spend 2 minutes to quickly and shortly put our ideas on what we think the business problem in this case study is, what are the business outcomes they want to achieve, and what their users are. So let's go. Let's get into it. All right, time's up. Perfect. So I see that unfortunately we don't have any sticky note for business problem. But we have some notes for the other two activities. We can do this freely. I would like at least one person per each of this section, each of these boxes. Because of time, we cannot have everybody participating, but at least one person per each one of the boxes. Who would like to volunteer for the business problem? So it's essentially some your ideas on what you think the problem in this case study is. What is the company not doing well, or what is the product failing to do?
I suppose I can speak on it. Well, I think that like the overarching problem is that the company is failing to meet their market where the market wants to live, if that makes sense. You know, the market wants to be mobile first, and that's what the company is. Their biggest downfall is that it's not mobile friendly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. That's key. So they say their product is heavy and not mobile friendly, while their users are shifting and are active in these kind of devices. So that's right. Perfect. Thank you very much. So then the next box is business outcomes. Who would like to say some words around this? So here we just needed to be a bit creative on what we believe could be an outcome they want to achieve by modifying the product. Here they actually have a target. So we have some ideas on their KPIs. If someone would like to discuss this a bit.
Yes, I mean, I think they could focus on returning users and also the time of use or the increased time of use might be a good KPI. I guess they also would have a look at the rating in the App Store if they actually make an app solution.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thanks a lot. So that's right. So here, the team would need to put together all the metrics that they believe are relevant for this specific case. And definitely, the increase in mobile usage was identified by that team to be an important metric. I believe also customer acquisition and retention would be important. So that's the idea. So to put together all these metrics to be able to measure in the end if the effort was successful. Good. So let's move on to users. Who would like to say some words around users? So we don't have much time, unfortunately. Yeah, if just the person who wrote this could say some words, would be really nice.
Yeah, I wrote them, but I don't want to do all the talking on the entire call.
Okay. Yeah, the rest is kind of
But that's okay. I
relaxing.
can talk a wee bit on them. So
Yeah.
what I just wrote is that the target market of the platform is students who are going to be Gen Z. So that means they've grew up like much more technology fluent, and like a mobile first generation. And because of the kind of software they've grew up around, they have a really low tolerance for ineffective software. They really have a low attention span. So those are probably some things that they need to take into account creating a mobile first solution.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Sorry, and then I was going to say, like, I don't know whether it's a self-management kind of tool or whether it's say like the university puts content on it. I don't know what way it would work, so I couldn't answer who really configures it.
That's great. Actually, you went a step farther into already identifying what kind of features or device or kind of platform this could be. And this is really nice. For the purpose of the workshop, this is just right. So students, generation set, all what you wrote here is perfectly fine. So with that, then we can move on to the next box, which is about the user outcomes and the benefits. So the idea here is to identify what the benefits you expect this product will have in the users. So as we discussed before, we identify what is the persona, what is the target customer that we're addressing this problem to. And with that, then we need to identify what their frustrations are. So with that in mind, in this box, you identify what do you like or would you think your product will help your users to address any of their frustrations or to help solve any of the challenges they're facing. So, for example, you can address questions such as what benefit do they get from using your product? What goals will they achieve by using your product? So, personal goals. So, what status do they reach by using your product? So especially if you have like luxury brands or if you have something like very fancy and expensive, so is that of benefit for them, and is that of importance to them. So that's why having a good UX research in the team before completing this task and during the completion of this task and the sprints is very important. So this is then very important, and essentially is to be able to match your user's needs with the features that your product is presenting. So then we move on to the solutions. Here is where the team becomes creative, where the team or UX designers as mainly and mostly. However, it is very important to have cross-functional teams. But yeah, the idea here is to brainstorm what are possible features, what are possible setups that can be put together to address the user's needs. And this can include the output, the features, the solutions, the initiatives, the policies, the programs. Sometimes a product may not be working not because of failing features or missing features, but maybe because of the system overall in which you're interacting with your user is not effective, or something in the user journey is not working properly, which may be an internal process, or it may be even communication at the interface with the user. So that's the idea, that once you have identified what the user's needs are, what the outcomes you want them to achieve, then you come here to solutions. What you think, all the elements that you think will help users to reach that goal, and what you would like your product to have. So, and after that, we move on to the hypothesis. So here we combine the elements, the assumptions that we took from the box 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we put this together with this sentence. Here they use a template, and that says that we believe that the business outcome, in brackets, will be achieved if, in brackets, user attains, in brackets, benefit with these features, in brackets. So the idea is that you substitute each one of these information that are listed in brackets with the data that you collected in the previous boxes. So for example, the business outcome, the KPIs that you identified before. So you believe that that KPI will be achieved if the user that was listed on the box 3, let's say generation Z, will attain this specific benefit that we listed on the box 4 with the feature that were identified on the box 5. So with that in mind, I would just like to shortly us to work a little bit on this for 2 minutes, and then we discuss again. Perfect. So let's move on to the user outcomes and benefits. So who would like to say some words around this? So you're very silent today. So remember, this is your workshop. These are your ideas. Feel free to share any thoughts you have.
Yeah, I can speak on it. So what I wrote to like post-it notes so that the user outcomes and benefits would be being able to access their learning material, and therefore being able to achieve their learning outcomes, whatever that might be. It might be a single course they're taking, a certification. It might be even something larger like achieving a university degree.
Yes, that's correct. Good. So essentially, write all what they need to do with the learning platform as you indicated here.
In addition to that, can anyone hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying maybe in addition to that, maybe some users don't have the larger devices and they only have access to the smaller ones. So that would just, create an opportunity for those who don't even have it in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
and give them the ability to
Yes.
do like group work, even if they
Mm-hmm.
don't
Yes, that's actually a very good point because the observation the company had was that students were shifting to mobile first or mobile only, which means that for some reason they were shifting. So, which probably enables them to be flexible if they're learning on the go or if they are in a team meeting anywhere on campus. So it's easier and lighter for them to carry a device of the size of a phone and do their homework or their practices than using a laptop. So this is a very good observation. Thanks a lot. Good. So solutions, what can be solutions for this case study?
And yeah, so it could be either a native mobile app or it could be a more mobile friendly website. I suppose it depends on like research what comes back. If users feel that they would, maybe they don't even want to download another app, or if it is just people who have, say, like more low spec devices, since we're seeing a lot more of the world coming online for the first time, and they don't have, like an iPhone 13 isn't the first phone most people get. So they might need something with that doesn't take up as much storage, so they're more likely to visit a mobile website than to visit an app, which obviously requires storage space. And then maybe inside the actual platform itself, they can have like some kind of feedback feature as well. That's what I wrote.
Yeah, this sounds really good and definitely very useful. Um, Definitely, I mean, we would need more time and more resources and an actual like, cross-functional team, right, to go into more detail into the solutions. But I believe these are very good ones. So thanks a lot for. And we can go finally to the hypothesis. If one person can say some words around that.
Yeah, I wrote for that one that we believe that we'll achieve 15% increase in mobile usage if students attain a mobile-friendly site with online learning.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So that was a very straightforward one. Normally, when teams use this tool, they will have a bunch of hypotheses around what needs to be done and what features and in which way users will benefit. So in that case, you use then this other canvas, which is a complementary to the previous one. And here what you do is that you group your hypothesis based on two elements. What is the value of this feature or of this solution in respect to the business and obviously also the user, and in respect to risks. So risks of any kind. It could be of design, risk of marketing, reputation, etc. So here you organize all your ideas into what ideas you need to test. So these are hypotheses that promise a big return on investment, but they also have a high risk. So these are very interesting approaches and that require then the attention of an organization. On the section 2, you have the kind of hypotheses that are ship and measure. So you have a high level of confidence that this hypothesis will work. and that you believe also they will deliver business value. However, they pose less risk to an organization. Then you do not invest much effort into experimenting if this is going to work or not. You just may incorporate them directly. Here, also in the section 3, you have low risk and low value. So you usually just don't build that. You don't test that because they simply do not add significant value. So the resources and the effort put into it are not very relevant. So you may not need to build that. You may incorporate that from a partner, from an external outsourced, let's say, feature. And lastly, we have a discard section. So these are ideas that have high risk and a low value. So definitely just do not invest resources into that. So this is a very simple 2x2 matrix that is used by organizations to start this process of sorting out ideas and hypotheses into how to improve their product. So today we're not going to use this because we also didn't have many hypotheses. But I believed it was just useful to let you know that this also exists and you can complement it. Good. And lastly, we have these two sections, the 7 and 8. After you have identified the key hypothesis, you then figure out what do you need to learn first. Which of these ideas, of these features, would you like to learn first because it is more strategic, because it will give you a competitive advantage in the market? So then you prioritize them and you start then experimenting with them, and then you move on to the next box, which is designing an experiment around this. So what is the least amount of work that we need to do to learn the most from that hypothesis? So here's where you come into prototypes. You may go into low fidelity or high fidelity prototypes, or you may go into more research or any other kind of experiment that can help you identify if this hypothesis is true or not. So you go into a low risk, low levels, low scale experiment to figure out and gain insights that can help you move on to the next task. So once you have information from here, you then move on back to box 7, and you reprioritize your hypothesis based on the new insights, and you then continue to improve the product in the sequential sprints that you have. So with this short information, let's just brainstorm a little bit on this case, on what do you think this organization needs to learn first about their hypothesis. Let's assume it's this one, which was the most clear one, and what kind of experiments they can run to learn about that hypothesis. So let's spend 2 more minutes on this, and then we discuss later on. All right. So we get a lot of ideas into the box 7, but no ideas on box 8. So that's a very interesting thing. So let's learn what you wrote here. Who would like to say some words around this? So we have a very silent team today in this workshop. So I will have to go ahead, unless someone jumps now and says something. I will read it because we have some minutes left only. So here ideas are app and website, what they need to learn first. So that was not very descriptive, but it's something around app and website, market research, focus groups, user surveys. This is actually very useful. However, this is part of the experiment. So this is what you actually, this is like the tools or the techniques that you would use to investigate that hypothesis that that you identified, or what element of that hypothesis you would identify. So that would go then in this section. So then do A/B testing of both an app and a mobile focus website is also here. Find out what are the users' most pressing issues. Yeah, that's useful. Although a bit general, but it's essentially what is meant here and what users need from the product. Well, here, maybe I would rephrase it, because this is supposed to be understood already in the previous box, in box 3 here. When you discuss what your persona is, then you need to understand what their needs are, their goals, etc. So here, maybe this could be learn how these features matches the user's needs, for example, or if the needs of the user changes or something around that. So that would be the idea. So then what are the experiments? So here we have several A/B testing, mobile optimized solution, web tracking, market research, etc. So that's exactly what is meant here. And that's the overview of the entire Lean UX canvas. I hope that this case study and this brief workshop was insightful for you, that it can provide you some useful and quick tools to help you address your team projects and align your initiatives into solutions that are of value for your products. So this was the entire content of today's workshop. I would like to then move on to the last slide, which is a thank you. Thank you very much for your attention and your participation. I would just like if one or two of you could say some words about the lessons that you learned, or any ideas for improvement. So any feedback around this workshop, how you found it, did you find anything new or something that impressed you, or something that is new to you? So feel free to share your thoughts.
No, I thought it was great. I think it's really well laid out. I think something that is super important for the Lean UX is having the cross-functional teams, like you said. I think that would be very important, and maybe even throwing in a few people who are a bit contrary, who will kind of ruffle a few feathers so that they make everyone think and make everyone reflect a bit more. I think that although it's not always easy, I think that sometimes is better. Because if you have too many people who are too agreeable, it's not always easy to actually dig into the problem. So I think that would be that is very useful in the business sense. And then I think the prioritization matrix would be very useful. Sort through all of the different problems whenever you have dug in a bit more.
Yes, absolutely. So following up on this, how do you think someone, a team member, could help introduce a tool like this in a team? What do you think could be a strategy? Because I know that although there are many tools and techniques out there, they're not always used in teams. Do you have any tips or strategy or experience in doing something like this, like bringing some ideas into your team?
Yeah, we usually try to do some kind of brainstorming, and we have done like experience canvases before, not necessarily the Lean UX one, but I think that you really just sometimes have to take the leap and get some buy-in from your cross-functional teams and just be like, okay, today I'm going to run a workshop and it's going to be this, and then you have to sometimes put yourself out there and be the leader. And then once you get to the end of this, people will see the value, and then you'll get more buy-in to continue, maybe even have some kind of like not rule, I think that's too strict a word, but like some kind of rule where you start every project with this kind of UX canvas where you really dig in.
Yes, absolutely. So I fully agree with you. Initiative is important, and also believe that you have something useful and demonstrate that to your colleagues. And then start small and see how it works. Learn from there and then scale from there. So with that, I think we can wrap up the workshop. Once again, thank you very much for joining. And also, I hope that this was of value to you. I hope that you can implement it. It would be really nice if you can catch up from time to time and say if you could implement it and how you experienced it. So I wish you a nice rest of the day. And we stay in touch. You may receive also an email for some feedback, just to evaluate how you like the event and what we can improve around it. So with that said, have a nice rest of the day, and we stay in contact.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Will
You're
we have
welcome.
access to this?
Thank you so much.
Yes, sure. So you will be able to access this, but you will have a view access. So you can take screenshots and then use it for your personal and professional purposes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Take care.
Thank you.